Are we live? Michele, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Woohoo! Good morning. Good morning. And good evening to everybody in the UK. I'm Chris Grimm from AVVI, and I'm here today with one of my besties, but more importantly, one of our coaches, Michele Calderigi. Do you know sometimes I have a hard time saying your last name because I forget you're married, even though after it's been 15 years? No offense, Pat.
Right. I forget too. Well, I forget how to spell it. It took me 10 years to figure out how to spell it.
Yeah, well, that's what happens to us Italian people. Remember,
Right.
I went back. I went back. Got the Grimm, the easy name.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am excited. Michele and I are here today, everybody, to talk about desire, dissatisfaction, a really cool program that we asked Michele to do. So let me kind of back up a little bit. Again, I'm Chris Grimm from avvi.me, avvi.me. If you've never visited us, please do. We have coaching, we have group coaching programs, one-on-one coaching, and other on-demand learning. Focused, frankly, we started for women, but it's for anybody who wants it. And we do a lot of work around authenticity and your life's journey and maybe transition in your life. A lot of women come to us when they're ready to either make a relationship or career change, and they're looking for, broader than life coaching and definitely broader than corporate coaching, all of which we've done for 20 something years. Anyway, so we have added some new programming. And before we get into that, I just want to talk a little bit so you can get to know us. Michele and I have known each other since 1993, I think.
When we were babies. Yes.
Yeah, we were 12. Actually, Michele was my boss in a corporate job, which I know was painful. Sorry, Michele. But so Michelle's been head of HR for a number of organizations, and then left to be a career coach and a life coach. How do you describe yourself actually now?
A career coach, executive coach and career coach.
Specializing in transitions. And we asked Michele to join because a number of years back, we were trying to figure it out yesterday. I was doing Marie Forleo's B School, building AVVI actually, and came across a woman named Danielle LaPorte. A lot of you might know Danielle LaPorte's work. And I was really drawn to this program. This is old. This is the old workbook for Desire Map. And now Michele is certified as a coach for Danielle LaPorte and doing Desire Map work. So now we're offering that starting here at AVVI. We're kicking that off. And I'm super excited about it. But I thought today we could talk about what drew us both to this. It's not a normal goal setting program. I don't know, Michele, how are you supposed to describe this? I bought it because it was pretty. I just want you to know that. I'm going to be completely honest with everybody. Back in 2016, I was building this business. I was looking at our corporate business and kind of going, I think it's time for something different. And this stood out to me. And by the way, people get tripped up, I think, with the word desire. We can talk about that. For me, it was compelling because, first of all, it drew me because it really drew me because it is pretty, to be honest, everybody. And I was used to really corporate-y, often kind of sterile material. Do you know what I mean? Corporate often feels kind of rigid and masculine. And this was interesting to me. And then I really struggled with it and started using it. And we can kind of talk about why, because I think it's compelling for all the rest of you, because now that we're coaching more people with these tools, I'm clearly not the only person who struggles to actually identify what it is I do desire. I don't know, Michele. So I think I gave you one of these. I don't know. Tell us a little bit about why this is so attractive to you.
Well, I was thinking about that. I think you did send me the book in 2016, and it wasn't, I remember it arrived, and it wasn't my birthday, and it wasn't Christmas, and it was just this gift that I received. And I remember at first I was looking at the word desire and going, I'm not even sure I know what that means at this point. You know, I had a teenage son and working, and so life was kind of the tail that was wagging the dog at the time. And so I started going through the book, and when I started going through the book, I immediately started connecting with it, because all of a sudden something clicked. When I started looking at and hearing Danielle's story of how she created this program, was because she was creating goals, her annual goals at New Year's Eve, right? And so, what do I want to achieve this year? Oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to go on vacation. Whatever those goals were. And it seemed like a checklist. And I was resonating with that. We need goals. I love setting goals. I love knowing that what the roadmap is. But at some point, when I would achieve some goals, it would feel empty to me. And so going through this program and connecting really with how I wanted to feel when I achieved those goals, and connecting my success to that feeling, that's when it clicked for me. So
yeah, it's interesting as you're saying that, because I might have said this to you. I know I've said it to a ton of people in coaching and Heroine's Journey cohort. I had to come to a realization that I was often, like most people, building whatever my plan was, my goals, if you want to even call it that. Sometimes it was goals, but most of the time it was like just talking about what I wanted. And I was stuck in that trap of like doing everything from a place of dissatisfaction.
mm-hmm.
Everybody who's listening, you know what I mean? Like, really you're just miserable, or you're pissed about something, or most of us sit in that. I wish this was different. I wish he was different. I wish XYZ. And I think what was compelling, and maybe Michele, I know I got one of these for more than just you. I gave them to a whole bunch of people that year. What was so compelling to me was that I was like, okay, wait, stop. There's a different place to make your goals from. And if so, what is that, right? Because I had come from, like most of us, right? You learn goal setting and SMART goals and all of those things. And if everybody you're honest with yourself, you are building them from a place of dissatisfaction, right? Like we're sitting here and going, this needs to be different. I want this to be different. Now, some people can dream big and they're visionary and they're creating something new. So it's not coming from a place of like, this sucks. But when I started working in here, I actually have mine, you guys, and I'm embarrassed to read some of them to you, to be honest. But the compelling thing for me last night when I was going through this in preparation is a lot of my stuff has actually come true. So that's kind of awesome. And I don't know if I was making normal goals. Let me read some of these things. And I think and Michele, maybe you can, I know it's evolved since this, but it says, starting to think about like, what do I crave?
That's a hard
Asking yourself that question, like for me, it was like, wait, what? Like besides chocolate cake, like what? And by the way, hashtag thanks Corona. I was craving time alone. I was craving connectedness, specifically with my children. And I did get that, which is awesome. But I don't know if you think it's different, or maybe even if that's a part of the program, but that to me feels like one of the big hurdles that most people have to get through, which is how do I allow myself to express things I want and actually create goals around that instead of goals around what I'm pissed about?
Well, the difference is, no, it's still pretty much the same. I mean, the workbook hasn't changed, and the work hasn't changed, but it is a mindset of, when I'm coaching executives, one of my first journal prompts that I give them is, what does success feel like to them? So asking them to think back to a time when they achieved something or they were successful.
Mm.
And I ask them to go back to that moment. I ask them to really remember, like, what did the sun feel like on your face, and what was happening in your heart and in your gut when you actually succeeded, and to try and capture that moment and that feeling of what it was feeling like, and using that feeling, whether it's connectedness. Connecting is one of my words. I don't feel successful unless I've connected with the person that I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
They may achieve their goal. They may have gotten their promotion or whatever it was that we were working on. If I don't feel connected to them, then to me it doesn't feel like true success for me. So using that feeling of connectedness as my goalpost, as opposed to, oh great, client met their goal,
Mm.
great. Unless I'm feeling connected to them, it's more like a check in the box. Yes, it's a moment to celebrate for sure, but it's not a lasting feeling for me unless
Mm.
I'm connected to them, by way of example.
Yeah, it's it's interesting that you used connectedness, since I was telling you that was like one of my things, right? I wanted to feel like I was actually connected more with my kids. I think a lot of people, like in Heroine's Journey, which is a program that I lead, and we talk about like reflecting on your life, and then reflecting on your life, and then kind of thinking about what that means to you now and in the future. Oftentimes, one of the hard parts of it is having to look at our patterns and then identify, like you're saying, what are the emotional indicators of that? And, just so everybody understands, one of the things that has emerged in our business, which is one of the reasons I asked Michele to do this program, is that I'm finding in all of our group stuff how disconnected most of us are from ourselves. Like, obviously this shouldn't be a big surprise if you just look on Instagram and social, how many psychologists are out there, really good ones actually. I'm impressed with some of the stuff that's out there. But addressing this issue, right, like how disconnected we are from ourselves, how most of us have intense emotions that we don't want to feel. And so the reason why, I mean, anybody watching, I would say this to you, most of us are so busy all the time, we actually are super distracted from how we really feel.
Yeah.
And most of us, I'll just use myself as an example, go through life, at least for a very long time, I did until I started doing this work myself, realizing that, work, that kind of hard charging work that we do, type A, linear, keep us busy work, whether you're in your house, by the way, or you work out of the house, no judgment, like it's all the same, because we're all so busy keeping ourselves busy, that we're kind of numbing off the emotions that really matter.
Right.
And so it took a program like this, and then another one that I started doing that I'm now teaching, Heroine's Journey, to realize that when you want to change something that's not shallow, and for a lot of people that's a relationship and it's work, right? Those are the big things that we change on purpose. When you want to do those things, you actually have to deal with the hardest emotions. And I mean, Michele, I remember a long time ago when you went through your divorce,
Yeah.
how impressive was to me, like you felt really courageous to me. And that's an example, I mean, to anybody watching, like any of you who have gone through that, like you actually have to like go, man. You have to, whether you come from a place of anger or whether you come from a place of hope, or where you come, whatever you're coming from, to actually take the action and do the thing, you've got to like be connected to some emotion that is motivational to you. So whether that's dissatisfaction or happiness, like it's there. Yeah, I don't know. It's big.
Well, look, our brains are sort of wired to be happy, but what happens when we put happiness on the other side of success? Oh, I'll be happy when I can buy this house. And then you get into the house and then, oh, maybe I need a bigger house. Or I'll be happy when I get to a certain level in my company, hold a certain title, or make a certain amount of money. And then you get there and all of a sudden that's not good enough. Your happiness is fleeting because now you want the next level. So your brain never actually is able to sit in happiness with what you have. That's why anchoring
really
your
and sad.
Yeah, it is. But that's why anchoring your success to an emotion or your feeling and identifying what that's supposed to feel like is so important.
Yeah, but wait, you just said something so much of what we do is around this thing, right? So our brain and our body's wired to be happy and blissful and excited and good, and yet most people spend their life anchored into the opposite emotions, right? And that to me is scary, and then we stand back from that and think about how many people are like the extreme, right? Experiencing high anxiety and stress and, fear. And I got to tell you, I was looking at last night too. And in this workbook, in a few minutes, let's talk about the evolution of how this works, because the workbook for me had sections in it that were really interesting because it kind of forces you to look at the different parts of your life and how you want to feel in different parts of your life. And the reason I'm kind of connecting that to fear is what I learned about myself. It almost stopped me from starting this business, Avi. I mean, I had a lot of fear around being non-corporate, a lot of fear about being unstructured, a lot of fear of women, frankly, and the messy emotions that tend to show up when we have lots of women together versus lots of women and men combo or whatever. And all of a sudden, that's what this kind of helped me start to understand was, oh my gosh, I can't believe and I'm okay with that, right? Like, okay, I'm okay with being afraid of having a whole bunch of women together to talk about real life.
Right.
Really? And what would it feel like if we all got together and expressed happiness, gratitude, joy, etc., and learned how to also integrate a realistic conversation about our fears? Like, that was almost unimaginable to me.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, you work with such high-powered executives that fear cannot be a part of that conversation, right?
Well, look, it is in a very different way. We learn different types of fear, right? Like some of us learn that, physical fear. And it's so funny. I just glanced at my phone and I have the Instagram on there, and Davis Hermes, if you're still on there, Davis, I'm talking about you, is a superhero, the son of one of my besties. And, he does slacklining, right? It's a great example because Davis, right? Have you seen pictures of him? Anybody, you should check out Davis Hermes. OMG. Okay, but like his ability, I'm always like him or Nick Vujicic, who, I work with, who has no arms and legs. He never has. But he doesn't live his life like most disabled people do, because in his brain, his parents just programmed him not to be afraid to try things. And some of that was unimaginable to me at one point, because like I was saying, we live in a lot of systems that kind of want us to be afraid. Right? They want, like, I was doing a podcast yesterday for our leadership stuff, and we were talking a lot about this, right? We were talking about how corporate jobs are often filled with a lot of CYA, cover your ass.
Yeah.
So that's a really great example, right? It's like systemic fear. Like everybody stay in your little thing over here and, stay in your role and stay in your cubicle and stay in your lane and don't come over here and do that. And, those rules, those written and unwritten rules, you've been head of HR, so you wrote them, by the way.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. but it's how it works, right? We're so used to that, all of us. And I mean, look at the world right now. Look at the amount of like fear that is being driven into the process. And so what's fascinating to me about this work, right, is I'm like, oh my gosh, think about the effort it takes us to turn that off and to do what we're asking people to do, which is, okay, I know like everybody else is trying to get you to be afraid of everything, but we want you to turn that off and actually connect to the part of yourself that wants to do cool, awesome, yummy things.
Right. Yeah, I think, fear is used a lot to encourage compliance.
Oh, totally.
Right. So whatever the social norms are, or the corporate norms or culture, or, we do have to follow rules. We are a law and society, rule following culture for sure. But fear is a great motivator to force compliance.
Well, fear is like the ultimate motivator. You look at history and you look at leaders around the world. Look at now. We're living in it, right? You guys, this is 10 years from now. It's going to be textbook, right? This is the wonky stories of fear and, how people reacted and how people behave. But to your point, even personally, I think all of us have to look at the basics, right? That's why I was saying like the categories of this were really interesting to me, because I'm like, okay, so you've got to, you've got to face, you've got to face your fear about the basics. Like, money seems to be a big deal for everybody, right? In fact, half the women or men that I coach, oftentimes they don't want to make my heart is telling me I have to go, whether I have to leave a relationship or I have to leave a job. Like I was saying, those are kind of the big ones that most of the time people get stuck and spin and make a whole bunch of decisions in and around that. Yeah. And they get stuck there. And like I said, oftentimes they're like, the two things of the reason why they won't leave those two things is the fear of money. I'm losing my money.
Yeah.
Which most of us believe is like foundational to who we are. And that's sad, right? But it's true. Like that's the programming. That's like part of that fear programming. Like I'm gonna limit, this is gonna limit how much money I make. And so I'm not gonna actually do something to make myself happy, right? I'm just gonna live.
Well, what that monster looks like. What the crazy looks like. So you can navigate that environment. You don't know what it looks like on the other side.
Yeah.
So willing to go into the other side of what you don't know. That's a big part of it too. So again, it's kind of keeping you in that lane that you know about, staying on the 405, even though it's going to be bumper to bumper traffic and you can get off the road and take Ventura Boulevard or whatever. But
it's completely true.
Right. It keeps you in that lane.
Yeah. We had a comment from Marina in London, Marina South. Awesome human, everybody, from We Are Formless. Fear is usually associated with the fear of losing. Yeah. When we begin to realize we don't own what we think we do, we begin to feel free of attachment. God, that's so huge, Marina. Yeah. That is actually also something, and I'm hoping we can talk about programmatically, Michele, how you're going to run the group coaching stuff. Because I do want people to understand that we're going to try and make it as safe for you to do the work as possible. And a lot of people don't feel safe in one-on-one coaching. After 24 years, we can both tell you that we get that. There's a lot of accountability and a little pressure there. That's what one-on-one coaching is supposed to do. But if you're not ready for that, We're really looking at a lot of group coaching formats. So you have people around you that you can, be human with safely, and hear them working stuff out, which might be helpful. But I just want to, and then before I pass this to you, Michele, to talk about that, I just want to address something Marina said that I think everybody's, needs to know, right? A lot of the programs we do are built to help you look at that. Like, what am I so attached to that it's keeping me in fear and holding me back from, looking at my desires? Like, what do I really want in my heart? Like, what do I really wish? Why does it feel so far away from me? And like I said, what am I telling myself over and over and over again that's become like this gigantic roadblock in my mind, when really in reality, it probably isn't that at all. Right. Like Marina's saying, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but also there's a lot of delusion, right, about what we can control and what we own. And when you start to like look at it in a new way, you start to realize that none of that's really true. Yeah. And the things we're fearing never come true most of the time.
I mean, one of the consistent themes in my coaching practice when I'm working with executives is, especially with women, is self-advocacy. It's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to ask for what you need at work. And there's a lot of fear around that. Oh, I don't want to be perceived as being annoying or needy. Those are the stories that we tend to tell ourselves, we being women, many times. So, a lot of work around how do you ask for what you need at work bleeds into the bigger picture of what we're talking about is, feeling okay with that, feeling okay with busting through that fear, leaning into that vulnerability of, oh my gosh, well, so what if they think you're needy? You're asking what you need so you can do your job better. Right. So what's the worst thing?
It's so true. Even the word needy, you're killing me with that. Like, there's a trigger. I have a trigger around that. Like, I so don't like the word needy, and I don't want to be perceived as that. So as you were saying it, I'm like, I bet there's a ton of women out there, and men, by the way, who are, I would rather not pee in a meeting. I would rather not leave a meeting to say I have to go to the bathroom, because sometimes I feel like telling everybody that. I know there are people who are going to think I'm nuts, by the way, and I'm not, but it's true. Like, think about it. If you're in a meeting with a whole bunch of people, you don't want to be the person who disrupts things to get your needs met. Most people won't do that.
Right. Exactly.
And that's like basic, peeps. Like, come on. Exactly. Right? No, it's completely true.
Yeah. Or sending your food back if it's not what you ordered.
Oh my gosh, right. Yeah, the top 10 things we usually won't do. I dare everybody who's watching this, make a list of your top 10 things that you oftentimes want to do, but you won't do it because you're afraid of what the other people are going to say, think, feel. Yeah, I don't want to be the pain in the ass, right? I don't want to be that person.
Right.
You are that person. We are that person. I am that person.
Yeah, I remember one time I was in a restaurant and I ate something that broke my tooth, like shattered my tooth. So I was just going to quietly pay my bill and go away. And the people I was sitting with was like, no, Michele, you need to tell them that their food broke your tooth. Oh. And so I, very quietly had the waiter come over. I didn't want to make a scene. So I kind of whispered and showed him my tooth in my hand, like the 5 pieces of my tooth in my hand and the hole in my mouth. And luckily, they were gracious about it, but I was like, I don't want to be that person that makes them feel uncomfortable because something happened to me.
It is so true. I'm just listening to you and I'm thinking, if I would have been with you, are you kidding me?
I know.
Wow. Yeah. So let's, it's just cracking me up. Let's talk a little bit about, I want people to understand. So if somebody's like thinking about this sounds really good to me, but I'm a little scared, like, how did you design the group coaching so that it's safe for people to kind of maybe try this if they are curious, but also skeptical or afraid?
Yeah. So, we will, of course, set some boundaries and rules for our group so that we know it's a safe environment, of course. But the program will first have you take an inventory of what's happening in your life today in those 5 areas, your work, your career, your money, your health and fitness, your spirituality, your relationships, and do sort of an inventory. What's going great? What maybe is not so great? What are you grateful for? What would you like to have more of in each of those categories? And so we'll talk about what that looks like for every person. We won't share everything, but we'll share. Each person will share a little bit of something.
Yeah.
And then we will take that information and start to look at what are your feelings around all of that. What does that mean for you? What would that feel for you if you were totally happy in your house and your surroundings, with your relationships? What would that feel like to you? Would you feel radiant? Would you feel abundant? What would those words be to describe that? And we'll spend a lot of time kind of trying that out and having those conversations. And at the end of our coaching together, you'll have 3 or 4 or 5 words that you can use and kind of use as guideposts when you are making decisions. Should I leave my company, or should I, why would I want to leave my company right now? I'm not feeling abundant. I'm not feeling like I'm flourishing. So that you can apply different guideposts to help you make your decisions.
Yeah. This is going to sound like a goofy question, but since I know I needed it back in the day and sometimes still do, like you just said the word, I want to feel radiant. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that means. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm going to be like eating bonbons? Like, what does it mean? But I guess it means whatever you want it to mean, right?
Right.
And what I was going to say is there, with the program, like, is there a list of emotions? Some people are going to think I'm crazy, but sometimes I feel like we need that, right? Like we have very limited, believe it or not, most of us every day have a very limited vocabulary around things like emotions. Like we're happy, we're sad, we're frustrated, right? We're pissed. Think about it, everybody. Like you probably use the same words all the time. We're habitual.
Yeah. So, Danielle LaPorte and her team have been doing this for a long, long time. And they've curated, I printed it out. It looks like about 10 pages of core desired feelings.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are words around beauty and sensuality, for example, or around freedom and power, audacious, boundless. And so that will give you an idea or give you maybe inspiration to explore certain words. And I'll have you journal about them. I may have you may want to draw pictures around what those words mean to you if you're more of a visual learner. But there will be some a tool to help you explore what those different words are. And again, having this conversation with a group of people that you can trust to try those words out. When I say the word radiant to you, what do you visualize? And is that resonating with me?
Oh boy, I need that. I'm telling you the word radiant. So today already, like I'm like, ooh, there's already words that are sorry, everybody, I'm just being me. But some of this is so scary, and it's fascinating because there's a part of me that feels like this shouldn't be that hard. But But if anybody listening, we a week or so ago, one of our coaches, Eugenie, did a live stream with Yvonne Spetzer, and they talked about desire and intuition, and it was also a part of this conversation, right? And again, like a lot of our programming, everybody, is to help you get here, like to get to this conversation, to get beyond the miserable, the struggle, the whatever it is that's happening to you every day, where you're just constantly wishing. I had someone tell me the other day, and I was so sad. Like she counted day 40 of crying herself to sleep every night. And by the way, in the daytime, guys, nobody would know that. In the daytime, this person has their shit together and is polished and like on it, and the first one on the Zoom meeting, and you know what I'm saying? Like talk about, like you were saying, Michele, like gets everything done, check it off the list, etc. So in her life, I promise you, no one would guess this. So when she admitted this, I was like, holy crap, guys. Like if the people who we all believe have their act the most together are crying themselves to sleep for 40 days in a row, like what's happening to the people who are a wreck all day, every day, right? So we've got to get past this. We've got to crack the code. I'm hoping that this kind of program, right? Like I know a program doesn't solve everything. But whatever feels safe, right? That's the other thing about this, Michele, is that for me, this feels safe. I don't know why this program feels safe, but it does. It feels yeah, we're getting weird feedback. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, my phone's not on, so
yeah, really weird. But anyway, it sounds like aliens. But yeah, I guess for everybody watching, my big challenge to you today is to actually, I hope you all aren't going, I'm one of those people who cry myself to sleep every night. I mean, if you are, please get some help for that, because that's not normal. That shouldn't be normal.
right.
That's not what's supposed to be happening in your life. You're supposed to be living from a very different place. So I would say to you, do something, that can help you explore other options for how you feel. And, something like this would be really, really good. What is this? What is this evolving to, Michele? You and I have talked about this, the desire map and all the stuff that Danielle's been working on, and just transparency, everybody. Michele is certified by Danielle LaPorte, so we're in partnership with them, even though we don't sell their products. We only just facilitate programming, and it's really good, which is why we do it. But yeah, where is it going? Like, what's the goal for everybody who's thinking about it?
Yeah. So, she has launched in the last, it's been over a year, I guess, heart-centered programming. And it's going from, goal setting is pretty tactical. But heart-centered is more of a healing programming. So she has all kinds of really great meditations that she puts out every month. You can join her heart-centered membership with a week by week or a day by day activity list for you to do to get more heart-centered, to start healing yourself, as well as radiating that out into the world. And so it's a way, it's moving from desired map, keeping a lot of the bones of desired map, but incorporating this idea of healing as well. So it's much more holistic than it has been. It's a beautiful program. I love and have been able to explore. She has essential oils that she may recommend for a certain month based on her theme. And she is looking more at virtues in addition to feelings. Now she's looking at virtues. That will launch probably later this year. As a full.
As you were talking, Michele, it's funny. Anybody who's listening, and I know a few people that I see on Instagram are people I know well. So you're probably thinking what I'm thinking, right? It all feels really touchy-feely. Yeah. And it is. And it's not touchy-feely in a bad way. So if your brain is saying that, I want you to just be aware, because we're not used to being heart-centered. So you said that, Michele, and I'm like, I think we need to point that out to people. A lot of the work we do in Heroine's Journey cohort, and the people in it would tell you this. And by the way, that is not an easy place. It's a safe place, but it is not easy work. And, we really go deep into patterns. And, one of the patterns that seem to be super common, and again, sometimes people say to me, well, that's what you're saying isn't true for women who have never worked or have only worked from home. And I'm saying that is not true, right? So it is true for all of us, because we have been in a world for a very long time, and in a country in particular. If you're here in the US, I would say the UK is the same, specifically in metropolitan areas where we're like in that hustle bustle, get stuff done mode, like we were talking about. Well, that's very brain based. Mm-hmm. And, it takes a lot of thinking to navigate and get stuff done and, stay engaged in process. And if you've got, whether you're working from home or working outside the home, I don't really care. If you're working at all, frankly, most of our work that's not creative and creating things is getting stuff done. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just want everybody to be super aware that that means you're probably spending more time in your brain and thinking than feeling. So when Michele says these programs are heart-centered, and if in fact your reaction to that is it's touchy-feely, well, yeah, that's because chances are you are used to spending more time in your more masculine brain, intellectual, left brain, linear process. And again, we're not saying it's bad. What I'm saying to you is that you probably want to find some balance, because if you're going to couple that with I'm miserable, or this doesn't feel right, or like Michele, you said earlier, it feels empty, well, then you need to balance it out, right? You've got to find something that doesn't feel empty, because just doing things and checking it off the list, that is empty. Because oftentimes we're not even serving ourselves, right? We're serving something else, which I'm not saying something altruistic. I'm just saying, like, you're serving the need to do things, almost like that's a thing.
Yep.
Oh, Shasti is with us to agree.
Welcome to real life.
Yeah, that's what happens in real life for sure. We've got the queen. Hey, Shast, come over here and be a part of our live stream. Look, we're coming to an end anyway. So Michele, why don't you give some details about the program and how people can find it? And yeah, we'll be excited. We hope that you do something with us for AVVI, but this thing is super special. So go ahead, Michele.
I'm excited to join you. And it'll be a group coaching session. You can find it on more details on avvi.me, avvi.me. And this will be a great cohort that we can pull together. I believe it's 3 sessions. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited. So, okay, everybody, we're going to send you off into your day or your evening. Again, thanks for joining us. If you're not already following us on AVVI Experience, please do, so you get all the updates. You can go to the website, avvi.me, avvi.me, and sign up for our free membership. There's a lot of stuff that you could use on your own, or get some help from any one of our awesome coaches. And with that, and from Shasti, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks, everybody.